which
And
is why it kind of pisses me off when like these creationists bring up um, bring up quote unquote frauds as a way of discrediting evolution, even though these frauds are coming up on 100 years old.
Like that embryo picture guy
Yeah, yeah.
and
Heckle,
and the
Heckle.
and that pig tooth that no one believed anyways from America,
Yeah,
Nebraska guy.
yeah,
Like no, like he fooled everyone. Like no, he didn't. He fooled nobody.
yeah. And he confessed that he really didn't have enough evidence to concede that it was an ape.
I think only the one time they were fooled. I think that was that guy from England. I think that Frost.
Piltdown Man,
yeah, that's the most popular one I think creationists use.
and it just flies over their head that it was
eh,
science that showed that Piltdown Man couldn't work.
And it's funny because like they take quotes and they say there's not enough fossil evidence, but when scientists say it, they're only talking about like one fossil. They're not talking about the entire fossil record.
Yeah, I mean we have like a whole lineages of certain groups of animals completely filled in the fossil
Yeah.
record.
And I have a question. Are transitional forms, are they popular? Like, are they very common to find, or are they, uncommon?
I mean, it depends on how you want to define transitional form because if you want to be the most inclusive, we could define transitional form as any living organism because every living organism is contributing to the evolution of their population. So literally every fossil, every single living thing that has ever lived, including all of us, can be considered transitional forms. Especially if we were to become fossils and like paleontologists in the future were to dig up our bones and compare them to our very distant ancestors, then they would call us transitionals. And
Right.
that's what we're doing with all these other older fossils.
Yeah, and creationists, like, they always try to say, well, how about you find a fossil that has both a bird fossil, human fossil, and then I'll see, if it's proof. Well, actually, the Lucy, I don't know, I haven't done much research on the Lucy fossil, but I heard that's probably like the best evidence as far as transitional forms go with our connection with, the ape. Is
Well,
that pretty true?
Say that again.
Is that
Sorry.
pretty true that, the Lucy one is the best one we have so far?
Not exactly. I mean, we have better, more preserved skeletons of not just Lucy's species, but with a ton of other species that have been discovered since Lucy's time too.
Yeah.
because Lucy is more like
Um,
further down the line, already branched off from the chimps and at that point.
yeah,
They've
yeah,
already
and
Yeah.
a lot of us just refer to her because she was like one of the most important that has been discovered. Even though like a lot of individuals of her same species had better remains,
Yeah.
it was we just continue to refer to her because she's well known, and she's pretty easy to
Bad
use as
boy.
and when you're trying to illustrate how transitional forms work, or at least Lucy
Sorry, I have to
species
clean up the
tends to be
dog's mess.
a good example of that.
It's pretty, I mean, the fossils we have really, they don't, creationists don't understand how, the fossil records work. Like when you quoted those, I can't remember, what were those bones that have like bone marrow inside of them? And
Yeah.
they had tissue. Like, wasn't that, like, they were inside the bones still, but they were just really preserved.
Well, they weren't soft tissue in the way that like we ourselves have soft tissue.
Yeah.
We call them soft tissue because they were preserved remnants of soft tissue.
I think it was that
we wouldn't be
you're talking about that Tyrannosaurus thing that creationists use.
Yeah, it's creationists tend to bring it up to think that, look, this thing survived for 65 million years, but in reality, it turns out to be likely that it shows evidence for a certain type of fossilization method. Like, it seems that the depositional environment of the Tyrannosaurus, when it died, it allowed for certain chemicals in the soft tissue to be preserved. And since those chemicals were preserved, they allowed us to notice, hey, there were soft tissue here. So it's not that there were soft tissue itself preserved, but that signatures of soft tissue were found and were able to be preserved.
Yeah, because I know creationists like to often use that as proof that the Earth is only 6,000 years old, but
Yeah, they at least try to show that, dinosaurs couldn't have lived, or couldn't have dinosaur DNA couldn't have survived for over 65 million years. When in all reality, we probably could, given the right circumstances.
exactly. And they often like to use the term like carbon-14 and how it goes away after like 10,000 years.
Yeah.
But that's again, it's a misunderstanding of how we date fossils and how we date stuff like that.
Mhm. They think that carbon-14 is like the main arbiter of dates, when as you said, it's really only used for a short period of time.
Yeah. And another.
And we have like a wide variety of other radiometric dating methods. And the most compelling bit is that all of them seem to converge on the same dates for the same objects, independently of each other, which is pretty compelling.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of science, is that, and especially paleontology. Like I like when when we were little kids, we'd always dream of finding a fossil in our backyard, and
Yeah.
I like dinosaurs. Well,
Everyone
I
likes
don't
dinosaurs.
exactly everyone, and it just shows more evidence. And the funny thing is that even if there were no transitional forms, no fossils, the genetic evidence alone would be more than enough proof to show that evolution really is a fact.
Yeah, because we only need to use the fact that we can prove that that a guy is your father, or that you are the father of another person. That same method can be used to track the evolution of a wide variety of creatures to show that they have common ancestry.
I know, and it just makes me laugh whenever creationists try to argue against the fossil records, because even if the fossil record didn't exist, the genetic evidence alone would be more than enough proof
Hey,
to.
welcome, finally.
Yeah,
Hey.
thanks for showing up.
I know what happened. I thought you meant 2 o'clock my time.
I thought you were Eastern.
I'm not. I'm in the weird part of Florida that's not on Eastern time for
Of
Oh
course,
some
yeah,
you're in
you
that
had
one
my
fucking
part
cousins
of
from
reason.
that part one time.
that one part of Florida.
Yeah.
God damn it. Well, we've been having a good discussion anyway.
That's nice.
Yeah. Now another question I want to ask is, I don't know if you know much about genetics, but what exactly is the evidence, like the basic evidence they have for in the genetic field of evolution?
Well, like, I'm not hugely informed on genetics, but to my understanding, it's just the fact that there are a lot of the same types of genes in the same places, on the same chromosomes, etc., for a huge variety of different creatures. And it brings up the question, like, why is it like this? Because, if we know that chromosomes and most of the genetic information can be passed down and modified as they go through the generations.
Yeah, it's
But
mostly the basic characteristics of DNA itself, like the way it replicates and the things that can happen when replicating that allow for evolution to happen.
yeah,
Yeah, and
and it should be a big question for creationists for why why is it like this? Like, why did it have to be this way? Why, like, couldn't God have created these creatures with genetic material that did not resemble each other whatsoever?
yeah,
He could
and
have easily done that.
and not only that, but like the only argument they have against the genetic evidence is again the mutations. And like you said, is that the mutations, even though it's equal, that doesn't prove evolution wrong because like the genetics themselves, like you said, prove that we evolve, common ancestry and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I wouldn't say it proves it necessarily, but it makes a whole lot of more sense in light of evolution than any other possibility. That's why it's pretty compelling.
Yep. And I just watched a video a few days ago about the evidence for genetic evidence, and it just goes over some of the basics, like some mutations that happen that, go over why we are common ancestor of apes and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's pretty compelling when like only a few creatures have a certain genetic sequence that other creatures lack. Like we have certain things called endogenous retroviruses that we have unique to ourselves, chimpanzees, gorillas, and orangutans that are different from all other creatures, which is interesting because other creatures have their own endogenous retroviruses that orangutans, gorillas, chimps, and ourselves lack. So that kind of pattern indicates a nested hierarchy that can corroborate evolutionary theory as a whole.
Yeah, that's really the only argument they have. Like, it's because they know. Like, I really don't understand why they don't see it just in the genetic evidence. Like, they often argue against the fossil record, but they don't ever talk about the genetics because it doesn't.
Even when they argue against the fossil record, they show that they really don't have a full understanding of what's happening.
Yeah,
I mean, one would think that if all of these, like they seem to imply that all creatures that has ever lived live at one time in certain places, and yet when we go to these different fossil sites, we only see certain creatures hang out with other creatures, not all
exactly.
creatures all at one time.
That's the other thing with the geological evidence is because there's different environments during that
Yeah,
period, different
like
species.
yeah, you can go to like any dinosaur fossil site with like any non-avian dinosaur fossil site, and you'll find that there are no giant mammals with those dinosaurs. All the mammals with them are really small and rat-like. Yeah, when you go to like someplace like the La Brea tar pits, all you ever see are mammoths, saber-toothed tigers, and a lot of modern mammals, but no dinosaurs. Isn't that strange?
Yeah, it's really like the geological evidence really it gives us an understanding, scientists understand of what the environments were like thanks to the fossils we have and what type of
Mhm.
creatures were there. And it's funny because like there's different creatures in like different parts of the world. So
Guess Gabe had to take a break.
wait, he left. Yeah,
He
did he
he
come?
probably just got disconnected. He was telling me his Wi-Fi has been off lately.
Oh,
He's
So
at some public place right now.
yeah, he might have just gotten a disconnect. He'll probably be back in a second.
oh. Well, I know wait. Who's recording? Are you
I am.
Venom? Oh, okay. And are you guys gonna upload it on both of your channels?
Probably. I
Okay.
have to render it and send him a copy of it.
Yeah.